Hello ladies and welcome to the Tears to Breakthrough virtual conference. I just want to thank Carolyn for such a great introduction there. If you haven't had time to catch it, then do catch up with her video before this one. She gives some great tips about dealing with depression and just going through it, which can be really helpful. I just want to thank her for this great opportunity. How wonderful is it to be able to come to a conference whilst you're sat at home in comfort with a cup of tea. Well, obviously I am because I'm British. As Carolyn said, my name's Tanya Vaughan and I live over here in England, and it's quite great that I'm talking about depression today because I'm just looking up and out of my window because my office is in my garden and it's blowing a gale, it's pouring with rain, and it's dark and grey and dismal, and it's just the right weather for wanting to grab your duvet and curl up and not face the world. What I love about the title of these conferences, Tears to Breakthrough, is that it feels like an ongoing thing. We go through tears, we go through breakthrough. We go through tears, we go through breakthrough. And breakthrough doesn't mean that you've come through it. I'm not through the other side. So that's the first thing I want to say to you ladies. I'm not talking from a place of depression where I'm over it, where I've come through the other side. I'm living with depression every day. And that's the greatest thing, is that you can live with it. So I'm going to kind of backpedal a bit and tell you a bit about my story. Now, you will still keep seeing me looking left, and that's because I've got my computer up behind my phone and that's where my notes are. So don't think I'm just a bit weird and keep looking left, or that somebody's standing there. I'm just checking my notes. So I'm going back maybe 16, 17 years, and there was this real turning point moment for me. I was probably on my 6th admission to hospital after an overdose, an attempt on my life, and I'd been admitted into the hospital where I'd been quite a few times, and it was a really strange place. You kind of have an almost cell-like bedroom with nothing in it other than your bed, and obviously nothing that you could harm yourself with. And we had a communal room that had a pool table, which in hindsight, when some of us were got quite angry and upset at times because of the stuff we were going through, in hindsight, having a pool table may not have been the safest thing, because pool cues and pool balls can be quite hard. But actually that never happened. But anyway, I digress. So I was sitting in this pool room, and there was all the chairs around the outside with the pool table in the middle. And there were various people sitting and talking, or just sitting doing nothing. I don't think we ever played pool, actually. And as I looked around, I saw some real familiar faces, people that I'd seen from when I'd been there before, people that I'd known through various different things, through my depression and my admittance into hospital. And these were also people that had been in and out of hospital. They were people that I had conversations with, and I knew that they'd been doing this for years. And I looked around and I thought, this could be my life. If I don't stop, I'm just going to keep going on in and out of hospital. Being okay, coming back in, being okay. And it was at that point that I realised I could make the choice. I could choose. You can't choose to get over depression. But there has to be a turning point where you say to yourself, enough is enough. It's a bit like with, I used to smoke many years ago, and loads of people would encourage me not to smoke, to give up smoking. But until you actually come to that point yourself and say, I want to give up, nothing anybody does will work. Now, at this point, I have to say, I wasn't a Christian. I hadn't found Jesus. I know now, looking back, that he'd found me. There was some really poignant moments where I knew God had interceded for me. I took a combination of medication, and what they do here is they would normally give you a substance that would make you bring up all the medication you'd taken. But if you refuse medication, they can't force you to take it unless they section you, which they couldn't do for me at the time. But I found out later, because of the concoction of tablets I'd taken, had they have given me what they normally give, it would have probably had an adverse effect and would have made me worse and could have been fatal. And I just think, even in my refusing, even in my stubbornness, I feel like God was there and saying, no, you're not going anywhere. I've got a job for you. It wasn't until many years later that I found God. I checked myself out of hospital with all the support that the hospital give and the counselling and such like. And I went and got myself a job, which was a hard thing to do, because when you have depression, even getting out of bed can be a chore. My husband says to me now that we have 2 dogs, and it means that I have to get up every morning to walk those dogs. And believe me, if you met my dogs, you know you have to get up, because they will just jump on me otherwise. So as much as I complain about them, they get me out of the house. So yeah, I kind of went off and lived my life, and I thought I was doing okay. What I was actually doing was filling my life with work, with alcohol, with men, with going out all the time, and just trying to live over and above everything to try and make me forget how I was actually feeling. So it's in 2001, 2002 that I eventually found Jesus. That's a whole nother story. Perhaps I shouldn't get into that as well. But I did find Jesus, but I still had depression. You know, it wasn't like I came to faith and I was over it. And I didn't wait until I was in the right place. I didn't wait until I didn't have depression. I didn't wait until I felt that I was worthy of God. I chose to accept Jesus there and then, and he accepted me as I was, a complete and utter broken mess. And so much more broken than actually I even realised. And that's what's so amazing about God, is that he picks us up where we are. We don't have to be this perfect Christian. He just picks us up where we are and takes us. And he took me in my broken mess. There's a verse where it says he reaches down into the pit and lifts me. And that's exactly what he did. He reached down into the pit of my life and he lifted me out. And so I chose to follow God. I chose to trust him. And even to see me sitting here now, you wouldn't know. I'm a complete introvert. A party is my idea of hell. It's a lot of people I don't know that I have to talk to. I find it really hard to talk to people. And yet in 2006, I think it was, it might have been 2008, I really felt God call me to speak, which I just thought was funny. But through a series of events, I eventually did my first talk, and that's just the amazing thing God can do. He doesn't just pick us up, he can turn our lives around. And through all this, I still had depression. God can use us no matter where we're at. He can use us in the midst of our depression. He can use us in the midst of our brokenness. We don't have to be all right. We don't have to be at the point where life is good. We don't have to have it all together. And when someone first said to me about sharing my testimony about my depression and how I live with it, I said, well, how can I? I'm not over it. Surely a testimony is you talk about how you got over it. But actually, God uses me now to speak to people, to talk with people. He's put me in so many places where I've had the opportunity to talk to and pray with people that have depression or know somebody that has depression. So I never really thought that I had to be over it, but but obviously I wanted to be healed from it, and we prayed about it, and it just never happened. A few years ago, at a service in Dagenham in London, I was told that God would heal me from my depression. And it's quite funny when somebody speaks that over your life, because I kind of expected it to happen there and then, because it had all of a sudden been spoken over me. But it didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen a week later or even a month later. And as I say, I'm still in that place. It's still a battle, and it's a slow process. But do you know what? I know God's going to heal me. He may not heal me this side of eternity, but one day I will be healed. And one day we will all have that eternal healing. So whether it happens this side or not, that's not going to stop me ministering. It's not going to stop me being used by God. And only I can get in the way of that. I'm much better than I was. The depression dips become less and less often, and they become less prolonged. There are still days when I do not want to even get out of bed. And as I say, my dogs get me up. In fact, I was speaking to a friend today about someone once said to me, well, what have you got to be depressed about? You know, I've got a great life. What have I got to be depressed about? And the thing is with people with depression is it's not about anything. Depression is an illness, and it is a mental illness. And just like you would take a tablet for a headache, there's medication available, there's different ways you can manage it. And do you know what? If anyone's suffering or think they might be going through something like that, or has got somebody going through it and just doesn't know where to turn, then I would say to you, get in touch with me. That's absolutely fine. You know, either message me through Facebook, through my page. I will put my the link to my page in the comments. Or Carolyn gave my website address, and I'll put that in the comments as well. And you can email me through that. But talk to somebody. The greatest thing I ever did was admit it and be honest, and to stand up and say, there is no shame. This is an illness. I have an illness. The one thing I stopped saying was, I am depressed. No, I have depression. It doesn't define me. It's not my identity. Christ is my identity. Jesus in me defines me. Depression is just something I have. It's something I deal with. It's something I live with. And some days are good and some days are bad. But still, from this broken place, I started a theology course. I started my own business last year doing web design to pay for that theology course, because it's not cheap. I minister to women near and far. I don't know how far this video is going to go, you know, but I've had the greatest pleasure to be able to speak in different parts of the country to different women, not just about depression, but with Bible studies. I talk a lot about sex and relationships. And I've done that whilst living with depression. Don't let anybody tell you that it will stop you. Don't wait to be 100%. Don't wait for everything to be in place. If God's calling you to something, do you know, we always say, oh, I can't. Moses says, oh, I can't. I don't speak well enough. Everyone always has a reason they can't, but God can overcome all of that. So if God is calling you to something, I would say don't wait. Be obedient. Step out. Because I couldn't believe it when I started talking about my depression, because I really felt God told me to write an article about it, and I submitted it to a magazine, and it kind of snowballed from there. But all I did was write an article because I felt God say to me to do it, and it was scary. So whatever God's calling you to, take a step of faith and he'll meet you on the other side. Whatever your brokenness, live in it. Don't wait for it to be over. Don't wait to be healed. Don't wait until you feel like it. Gosh, especially with depression, you never actually feel like it. You just have to do it. As I said today, it's here. It is grey. It is miserable. Just before I came online, I took my dogs out for a walk. I slipped over and fell on my bottom, and I was soaked through and muddy. The last thing I felt like doing was coming into my office and talking. I just wanted to curl up and go to sleep. But do you know what? I feel great because I can feel God's presence and I know He's there, and God will minister to you in whatever you choose to do, in whatever you step out in, and however you choose to be obedient. But it is a choice. I made that choice back then in hospital. I made the choice to respond to Carolyn's request for speakers. I made the choice to come on here today. I made a choice this year to do live video Bible studies, which Carolyn talked about. Devotions, weekly devotions. And this is only the third time I've ever done a live video, and it's quite scary. But I did it, and I did my first one yesterday, and it was brilliant. Choose to live now. Whatever God's calling you to, grab it. And get help. Talk to somebody. Do not live with these things, whether it's depression or anxiety or whatever it is. Whatever it is that's holding you back, that you're fearful of, talk to somebody. Get prayer for it. But do something. Live now, because Jesus died so that we could have abundant life. And I love teaching on that verse because it says Jesus came so that we can have life in abundance. So Jesus has come, He's already been, so we already have life in abundance. So if we're not living in that life, that's because we're not living in it, because He's already given it to us. And that's what really turned me around, is that yes, I have depression. Yes, there are days I do not want to get up. There are days I just want to eat chocolate and drown myself in a bucket of ice cream. There are days where, and there are days actually, where sometimes I say to my husband, I can't do today, I can't function today. And I have a day in bed. And do you know what? I'll get up and do it tomorrow. Because it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to do it all. You don't have to put on this face and this facade. You don't have to be okay all the time. You have God. God has you. And it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to tell somebody that. It took me a long time to realise that I could do that. So I just want to encourage you ladies. I'm trying to see how long I've been talking. Probably not very long. Okay. No, that's good. I just want to encourage you ladies that whatever you're living with, if you've got no one to talk to, then talk to me. I'm sure Carolyn would say the same as well. You know, that's what this group is for. That's what these ladies are for. We come together to support and encourage one another. So I just want to say, if you need to get something off your chest, if you need to talk about something, then get in touch. That's fine. If God's calling you to something and you're not sure and you want some encouragement, then that's fine too. Come and tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to encourage you. If something's holding you back because of fear, then I just want to say go for it. Choose to live now, because you'll never regret stepping out. I promise you that. So I want to pray for you ladies. I just want to pray that God would, I just pray, Father God, I just pray that you would minister to these ladies as people come on later and watch this and join in. I just pray, Lord, that you would speak to them, that you would show them something that perhaps they need to talk to somebody about. You would fill them with a passion or a reminder of something that you've called them to. And you would really guide them, Lord, to seek somebody, to speak that out and to say, I know God's called me to this, Lord. And I want to pray against fear. I want to pray against the enemy grabbing a hold and using things against us. Because do you know what? We are God's. And He is stronger than the enemy. And the enemy does not have a hold of you. Whatever your fear is, that doesn't come from God. And God can help you overcome that. You may not get over it, but He will help you overcome it. And that's what I want to say. You know, I'm not being trite about it. I'm not saying, yeah, you know, go to God and it'll all be over, and go to Jesus and it will be fine. Yeah, I still live with it. But you know what? God gives me strength every single day. And I know when I'm not walking with God, because those are my dip times. And God gives me strength. And the other thing is Lord, just minister to those women that don't feel okay. And give them the comfort that it's okay not to be okay. If you want to hear any more about my story, then I would, I'm going to, as I said, I'll put a link to my website. I've got a whole kind of hour that I did a talk on that I recorded, so that's an audio recording. So I'll put the link to that as well. I'll try not to fill the comments up with links. Carolyn, thank you for your comments. I can see there's a couple of ladies online. There's one lady who's very special to me that I can see online, and I just want to thank you for being here. And for those ladies that catch up later, I know it's like mid-morning in America, it's kind of school pick-up time and that here in the UK. So as you listen later, I just want to say, do comment. We will be checking it, we will be looking at it. Come on and talk. And as I say, if you want to contact me, then go ahead. It's been lovely to be able to share with you. I'm looking forward to the other conferences coming up. Do catch up with the one on Tuesday if you didn't get that. And yeah, definitely sign up and invite your friends. It's been a pleasure, ladies. Thank you very much, Carolyn, for inviting me, and for you ladies being here. God bless you all.